Chess is much easier than most people think. Today I'm going to share 10 tips with you that help me reach an elo of 2000 on chess.com. These are things that you can do in your game today to improve your chess. So let's get started. So the first tip I have for you today is about playing time on chess.com or even over the board. And the tip is really don't play too much bullet and blitz. Go for longer time formats. If you're able to play rapid, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, or even longer, classical games for example, it will really improve your chess skills. The reason why it will improve your chess skills is because you have actual time to think about different lines. You can calculate in your head, okay, what if I do this and this and this? And also one thing you have to do in combination with that is analyze the game thoroughly afterwards. Really think about all the different lines you were thinking about during the game, analyze them, see what is good, what isn't good, if you made any mistakes during your thinking process. This will really help evaluate your chess better and also improve your chess skills overall. So on to the next one. So the next tip I'm gonna give you is try to stick with a certain opening, maybe 2 openings for each color, so 2 openings for white and 2 openings for black. There are multiple ways to learn openings these days. If you have a chess.com premium account, you are able to get the openings section in chess.com, which can help you learn openings. I'll include a screenshot of that right now in the interface and how to get there using the main menu of chess.com. And also if you want to take it even further, there's also a new section in chess.com. I believe it's only been past the last few months or something it has been released, which is the courses section in chess.com, which is even more advanced. These are courses that certain very high rated players like GMs or IMs are making, and they are delivered to us to learn. So these are included inside of chess.com as well right now. And also the third tip I can give you is just go to the analysis board on chess.com and try to play with some certain moves. Just try to figure out, okay, this is something that I play very often. If I play, let's say, e4 and afterwards I go knight c6 or knight c3, there are multiple ways you can play a certain opening for white, of course. If you play d4, it's also possible. Just simply check what you are playing often and see where you go wrong. Check the engine lines, see what the engine prefers, and that is a very nice and easy way to learn how to improve in chess and how to learn from certain openings. So hopefully these 3 things can help you learn the openings better, and we're going to the next tip right now. So for the third tip, I actually opened the analysis board on a few games that I played during my Road to 2000 series that I started on this channel a few months ago. And here there are actually a few different games in which I did not correctly assume my opponent's plan. And I was just too focused on my own ideas without realizing that my opponent is also playing the same game of chess that I am. So here in this game, my opponent decided to take this pawn with the queen, which is a little bit better for white. It is +1, not very clear why, but at this point it's a little bit better. Apparently it is better if I sacrifice here, because he can't take back and then I actually, of course, fork. That is not the way I played it. I decided to trade off bishops, getting his annoying bishop out of the way. I rerouted my knight, and afterwards here I decided to push a pawn. And I remember in this position thinking, okay, I can fork my opponent if I go here, which is nice because then I attack his knight and at the same time attack his rook, and then I'm probably winning, is my exact thoughts during this game. And after playing the move queen d4, I only after realized that he had knight f3, which is of course a fork between the king and the queen, because my pawn is pinned and I simply lose my queen here. And the eval bar goes from about 0.2 to about -6, so completely losing immediately. And very important in these types of positions to realize that your opponent is also making threats. You got to always be careful, and you got to always scan the board and realize that your opponent has dangers in his mind as well. Another game is this one, where I played bishop b5, and this one is a little bit less clear. Here, this one is actually quite a difficult tactical sequence that I might not even find I might not even find in the game right now if I played against a 2000 rated opponent. But the idea here is that if he takes my knight, I can't actually take back with the queen. I should take back with the pawn, which should have been obvious for me right now, because if I take back with the queen, the only piece guarding the d7 square here is this bishop, and this bishop can simply be traded off, and now he can fork my pieces, which is exactly what happened in the game. And my opponent found a nice sequence, and I lost this game eventually. So very costly points. Of course, you don't want to lose games like this. So this is at the 1600 levels, and I lost quite a few games in the 1600 levels. In my road to 2000. So that is unfortunate. However, we learned from our mistakes, and we did better at a certain point. But we made quite a few mistakes in the 1600s. So in this game, there's another mistake. He simply played queen b7, and I was just not paying attention. And this even happens to players who are relatively strong, above 16, 17, 1800 players. Everybody does this once in a while. Yeah, I mean, it just happens. I played knight d4, completely missing that my bishop was just hanging, and I just hung one piece in one move. Obviously, I can tell you that hanging pieces in one move is not going to improve your chess, which makes sense, because that is probably what you figured yourself as well. So yeah, don't hang your pieces in one move. And in the last game, this is also one that I wanted to feature, which is also funny. So in this game, my opponent played bishop e2. And it was already very late in the game. It was in an endgame, completely equal, headed towards a draw. I was down on time, but not severely down on time. I mean, yeah, I was severely down on time, but I still had 3 minutes, so enough to finish this game. And here I said my famous last words: "Isn't that just a free pawn?" Which it is not, because after taking, there is simply bishop c4, and I lose the game. So yeah, this is also one that I lost in the 1600 range. All these games are in the 1600 range. Lost a lot of games because I just wasn't paying attention there, and it was just not needed at all, because these games do not have to be lost if you simply focus on what your opponent's plan is. And that is something that I've learned the hard way in the 1600s, and I think I've improved a lot upon that later in the series. But especially in the 1600s, I made a lot of mistakes like this, and yeah, that cost me a lot of games, and a lot of points were lost in those sections of the series. So very important. Always focus on what your opponent is doing, and yeah, we're going to the next step right now. So the fourth tip is actually very simple, and it is a very good tip overall. Don't play gambits, don't play traps, simply play solid chess. If you want to really improve in chess, you notice that the higher you get, the opponents get stronger, and they won't fall for traps anymore. They will realize that there are traps, they will realize that there are certain ideas you're going to try and figure are going to work against your opponent, and above, like, I would say about like 1600 traps and gambits and stuff are going to be more and more difficult to really take advantage of. Maybe gambits are a little bit better than traps usually, because gambits sometimes allow for a lot of counterplay, but traps for certain are at a certain point just not done. They should be avoided. They should be replaced with solid openings, which you require a lot of knowledge in, and you need to know what certain principles and ideas are in certain openings. And if you do so, you're going to improve very much. So we're going to the next tip. So the next tip I wanted to share with you is know your endgames. So one thing that people don't realize is that endgames actually take up quite a big portion of a chess game, sometimes even more than the middle game. And even though endgames they have a lot less pieces than the middle game, it is often still very complex and very difficult, but it is better to learn. It is easier to learn because there is less complexity usually and more of the same pieces. Usually an endgame occurs with minor pieces or rooks and with a lot of pawns and a king. So I wanted to still tell you as well, there is also a endgames section in the lessons tab in chess.com. I'm going to include a little screenshot here again where you can see where to find it. And that includes all sorts of endgames that you can study, that you can learn. You can loop through them all once. I think you do need a premium membership on chess.com, but I'm not exactly sure, but I do think so. And obviously there you can learn a lot of different endgames, which is very nice. And hopefully that is very helpful for you. We're going to look at some endgames right now. These are endgames that are won by white if you know what to do. So in this endgame, we are now playing with the white pieces and we have opposition. So opposition is also something that you need to know. Opposition is something that you need to know. And here we can play b5 first. And no matter where the king goes, if he goes here or here, what we're going to do is we're going to sidestep. So if he goes here, we're going here. If he goes here, we're going here. And that is a very important concept that you have to know, because if we go king a7, there is no way for him to protect or to take our pawn or to prevent it from promoting. So this is a one endgame, and what you want to do here is simply cut off the enemy king. So in this situation I can go here, for example. Let's say I go here. What I usually like to do is make a little L-shaped way from him. So if I go here, for example, he has to go here. And if I keep doing that, he has to go here. One very important thing, I don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you know about stalemate, if I would have go queen f2 right now, it would be a stalemate. This is because the king has no moves. And if the king has no moves, it's actually a draw instead of a win. So what you do here is you bring the king instead of going to f2. So you actually keep one square away from the L in the corner, and if you do so, you can simply checkmate him. So this is another one endgame. If we go here, for example, we have to see what our opponent does. And what we want to do here is we want to take opposition. Now my opponent goes in the corner. If my opponent would have gone here, I would be able to push, and then he would have to go here, and then I can go to g7. So now if he goes here, I can simply step in front of my pawn and then go to e7 again. And now the same situation occurs as we just saw in the last puzzle, where we can simply promote. And here we want to cut off the king again, and yeah, let's keep an L shape this time as well. So you can do this quite quickly if you know how. And once again, don't go here because it's a stalemate. So, and that is another win. So for this one, what I usually do is just try to get my king in front. So let's see. You want to be the one who takes opposition. So you have to be a little bit careful here. If I go here, for example, he can go here, but it doesn't really matter because I can push this pawn again, and now I can outflank him, go in front, outflank him again, and as long as he is unable to get to my pawn, you are doing very well. Now once again, you take opposition, you get in front of his king, and then you outflank him, and now I can simply promote. And if you do, you have to just cut him off. And if you keep the same tactic as we did just earlier, we can simply bring our king. And if we do, we can checkmate him. This one is a little bit more complex. We're going to see what we can do. Okay, so now I'm the one taking opposition again. I can outflank. Then I can push. He goes in front. I go in front again. I outflank. If you learn this trick, it is actually very simple to memorize, because it is simply you have to simply know what to do. If you do so, you recognize the pattern. If you do, you will be able to checkmate them every time if you are in a winning endgame. This one is also a little bit more complex. Let's see, I will probably go here. And then I will push again. And now I will outflank again. I will go in front again, outflank again, in front again, outflank again, push. And then, okay, so this is actually something that you have to remember also. You can, if he tends to come too close to the pawn, you just step closer to the pawn. Never get too far from the pawn. Don't let him get behind, because that will mean you lose the game. But here you can simply do the same things as we did just earlier. And we keep outflanking him, and yeah, that is actually all you have to do. Let's see, let's go here this time. And just like we showed in earlier examples, this is actually how you do it. And my time is a bit off because I started this a little bit earlier, but we did it in quite a few minutes, and not the fastest, but definitely nice. And yeah, so what I wanted to show you still are also some other games in which I came into an end game. So in this game, I actually, let's see, I got into an end game here all the way at the end, and let's see. So in this game, I actually was already completely winning here, and my opponent was very low on time, so I was completely winning, of course. And here I decided to push the pawn, and one thing that I wanted to show you here, which is very important, is this technique. This is, I believe it's called building a bridge. I must say, there's also still a lot for me to learn if it comes to endgames, so don't quote me on everything just yet. But this is, I believe, building a bridge, and the idea is you want to make sure that your king is behind your rook, and you are trying to promote the pawn with your king. And if as soon as he gets behind my king and tries to give checks, I will block with my rook, which is what you want to do. You want to block with your rook. If he goes here, you can just go here. If he checks, you can just go. I mean, you could go here again, and if he goes here, you can still push as well. So there are different ways to approach this, but in general, you want to make your you want to prevent him from coming closer by moving your rook in front of your king, and that way you are able to promote the pawn and win the game. And one more endgame that I wanted to show you is actually this one, which is kind of funny. So here I was in a very symmetrical, very even game the entire way through. It was very even. We both played very good games with about 95% accuracy. At a certain point, however, I was able to take a pawn here, and now I was slightly better, and I decided to trade off queens and get my king active. And in this endgame, this is winning for black, but even there's just very slightly winning for black, but it is very difficult to find out why. And I didn't play it the best way, actually. I actually blundered away a draw at some point, and this just shows how incredibly difficult endgames can be. There are only pawns on the board here, but still it is very difficult to find the best moves. And I decided to go a4 here, which is not the best move. The best move is g5. I wanted to break open, of course, on this side of the board and just simply march my pawns too. And my idea here was that as long as I keep these pawns here, he can never promote these. So as long as I trade everything on this side, let's say all these pawns are gone and only these remain, I will probably win because I can bring my king, push, and I can simply march together with my king these pawns up the board, which is exactly what I was thinking. And my opponent played h4. I decided to trade off. I got into this position, and here this is actually a complete draw. And the reason this is a draw is because my opponent is supposed to play c4 here. And now if I take, he can go here. And if I go here, for example, if he takes and I push, there is one line, I believe, that if he pushes, maybe this is losing for him, but I'm not exactly sure. Is this losing? Yeah, I think this is losing, yeah. So what he has to do is stop this pawn, of course. So he wants to keep his king close to this pawn, and as soon as he can go back, it's good. And the point is, I can't go here because then he promotes. So I can't be the one, I can't stay at my pawn. I have to prevent this pawn from promoting. He has to prevent this pawn from promoting. So this is a complete draw. However, my opponent decided to play king f5, which is completely losing because now my king can sneak in. And as soon as my king can sneak in, I can take these two pawns. And now I do the same thing as I showed in the earlier example. I take opposition, I shield the pawn with my king, and I'm able to march through and win the game. So those are only a few concepts of a endgame in chess. Actually, endgames are very complex. There's a lot to learn about endgames. You have, of course, bishop and knight checkmates, bishop and bishop checkmates. There's all sorts of endgame tricks and tactics you have to know with rooks, because rooks in an endgame usually means it's a draw, but there are a lot of different mechanics and ideas you have to know that involve rooks. For example, the building the bridge, which I just showed, but there are a lot more. So a lot of things to learn about endgames, and yeah, hopefully you like this tip. See you guys in the next tip. So the next tip I wanted to tell you is use engines correctly. And I actually use engines for about two things, obviously for more things, but two things are the most important things if you ask me, which are analyzing certain openings and certain moves that you cannot or can play during an opening. So let's say you get into this position, which is obviously the Caro-Kann. This is an opening that I play quite a lot. And this is a variation that I get quite a lot. In the advance, of course, I play an early c5 and I get into a position like this. Usually what you try to do here is place your knight on f5 and go after this pawn. However, my opponent in a game recently, a few days ago, a few months ago, for a few weeks ago, played bishop g5, which is a mistake. And the reason this is a mistake is because I have to take here, and after taking I have to go queen b6. And what I did in the game was I would go here immediately, which is not as accurate. And the reason this is not as accurate is because of knight a4. And knight a4, I would like to just go here or here. I would like to take this and then trade, or I would like to go here and then take this or take this still, something like that. However, the problem is if you go here right now, he can go back and your queen is actually trapped. There's simply no way back for your queen and no way in front, and your queen is completely trapped. So in this position, this is a bad move, because now after knight a4 you have to return, and that is obviously not what you want. You want to play actively and you want to attack and not passively. So that is the reason why you take here first and then go here, because now you can simply go here, or you could even take the pawn, because this obviously also works. So yeah, this is a prime example of why you would use the engine. I like to use the engine in this way to realize, okay, but I played a certain move, but why is it good or why is it bad? So bishop g5, if I ever encounter that again, I will realize, okay, this is because I can take here and then go here. This is the correct idea. So yeah, that is very important to realize, to use the engine like that. And another way I use the engine is to analyze the games I've played, of course. Usually after playing a game, you want to learn what you did wrong. And in this game, I actually had this game in a Road to 2000 series episode quite recently, a few days, weeks ago. And believe it or not, in this position I'm playing black, and I somehow found a way to lose this game, which is honestly more impressive than winning the game, to be fair, but okay. And in this position I had 2.5 minutes on the clock, and I should have taken my time here and realized that I can simply take and trade everything, and then I can simply go with my king. And as soon as I do, there's never any pushing, because I can en passant or I can just take. And as soon as I do, I can bring my king, I can take these pawns, I can promote my pawns, and I can simply win the game. So one other thing that is very important to realize, which is if he ever goes down here, let's say I just walk my king a little bit like this. So let's say again to this position, he can never take this pawn. And if he does, I can simply promote my pawn. So a very important concept is that if you ever have two passed pawns like this, it is actually very strong, because a sole king can never stop it. So if you have a king versus a king and a few pawns endgame, two connected passed pawns are very, very strong, and very important to realize that they are very strong. So yeah, that is one thing to remind you to remember for yourself. So in this game, actually, I decided to push my pawn, which is also a good move. But for some reason allowed him to have a passed pawn here, which is obviously not very good. And then I kind of panicked, and here, for some unclear reason, I decided to sacrifice my rook, which is obviously not good. Even though I can play a3, now it is a little bit good, but it is still not good enough. I should have simply played this move here, because if he takes here, I win a free rook. And if he takes here, I win a free knight, which is something that I missed. And yeah, I mean, this game unfortunately got lost for me, but it is very important to realize, okay, afterwards, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? And a very important lesson is, if you get into a position like this, simply trade and get an active king and decide to take these pawns. If I had just thought about it a little bit better, and if I had just looked at it a little bit better, I would have probably realized that it was a move. I missed it, however, and that cost me some rating points. So yeah, this is a very important tip. Use the engine correctly, and let's go to the next one. So another very important tip is play chess puzzles daily, or at least weekly, because chess puzzles might actually be the single most important thing if you want to improve your chess. Chess is just tactically, if you miss something tactically, you're going to lose games. It is just as simple as that. If you miss tactics, it's going to cost you games. So my goal is to be perfect tactically always. However, that is almost impossible, of course. But the goal is to be perfectly in every tactical situation, never miss a single tactic. So here, let's just try to solve this puzzle together. What I usually just try to look for first is, of course, checks. The first thing is checks, the second thing is captures, the third thing is like sort of minor imbalances. But usually in a puzzle, it is a check, checkmate, winning a piece, something like that. So I'm obviously already looking at the knight that is completely hanging here. My queen is attacking it, my rook is attacking it. If I take it, he has only one move, he has to go here. Then I could give another check. Then he has actually only one move again, which is this. Then I can take that, and that would actually be checkmate. So I can just take here, I can go here, and then after blocking, I can take, and that is just a simple checkmate. So this is a fairly easy puzzle that we can simply solve in a matter of a few seconds. And this one is also very easy. I'm not sure why the puzzles are that easy, but okay. So here, obviously, what you are going to look at is this rook and this queen are aligned. So I can give a check here, for example, which is something that does not actually do something, because if I do so, he can simply go here. The same goes for here. He can go here or here. Doesn't really do anything. If I look at those two checks, in my head, I immediately think, okay, that might not actually do anything that I want, because it is not as forceful as it is as another move is. There's another check here, for example, which also doesn't do quite a lot, because he can simply go anywhere here once more. And then there's one more check here that immediately catches my eye and immediately targets my attention, which is queen h8. And the reason this immediately catches my attention is because if I go here, I give a check, and I suffocate the king from coming this way. He can't go this way because my queen is guarding all these squares. Then at the same time, my rook is guarding these two squares. So it is very simple. This is just a checkmate because he can't go anywhere. There's no move for the king. There's no way to block, and it is a simple checkmate. That is how you solve chess puzzles, of course. And in the next one, we can go, for example, queen g5 is a check. And is there any other check? I don't think there is any other check at this moment. There's also a move like b4, attacking the queen, which is something that catches my eye. But if I look a little bit closer, I see that queen g5 actually comes with a double threat. It is a check, but at the same time it attacks the bishop. And the bishop can't block because the bishop is on the light square diagonal. And my queen attacks on the dark squared diagonal. So I can simply go here. He blocks with the queen, which is fine because I can take this and that'll be okay. And sometimes in puzzles like this, it can even get more difficult like this, for example. It ends with a pawn push. And something that you tend to forget sometimes is that if you attack like this, your queen can get stuck. You have to be careful. Your queen can get stuck. In this example, my queen isn't stuck because I still have queen f5. But in some cases, it can get stuck. So you have to be careful about that as well and look at that as well, of course. Let's do one more. This one is a little bit more complicated, I think. So usually when you are looking for a checkmate or looking for some sort of forceful sequence, a very nice thing to keep in mind is that if your queen covers all the escape squares for the king, it is usually good to keep your queen there. So my queen probably wants to stay out here, preventing the king from going back. So then I'm already looking at the next thing. Of course, this thing says, okay, calculate for checkmate, which is a little bit of a tip, of course. If you don't have tips on, you have to figure it out yourself. But if I look at this puzzle, regardless of the tip, I'm already thinking, okay, it might be a checkmate. Because the reason why is because I suffocate this king a little bit. He can't really escape. And I'm already thinking, okay, this is going to probably be a checkmate puzzle. So a move like this, I would never consider. The reason I wouldn't consider it is because if I go here, he can simply escape, and there's for 99.9% certain not going to be a checkmate anymore. So what I'm looking at is pawn to e4. And he is pretty much forced to take, because if he doesn't, let's say he goes here, then there might be some checkmate like this, and I am able to maybe come with my queen. So after this, he takes, I can go here, and that would actually be a checkmate. So if I go here and he takes, it would be a checkmate in 1, because my bishop covers these squares and my queen is going to cover these squares. Let's see, what is it? Yeah, okay, let's see. Other color. So he goes, so here, and then this is covered with my bishop, and then these squares are going to be covered with my queen if I go here, and that would be a checkmate. So I'm going to push. And if he takes, it's a checkmate. If he goes here, there's probably some other checkmate as well. First of all, I can go here. And then he is already, he has to go here. And then that is going to be a checkmate. So if he goes here, there's this. And then here. And then there's this checkmate. So that is one, like minor things like that. Like looking at, for example, the fact that his king is completely cut off by my queen, and realizing that I have to keep my queen here, otherwise he will escape, is something that is going to very much help you in your games. And it's simply that realization that keeping your queen here is going to be good, because he can't really move up the board, and he's a little bit suffocated. The mating net type of idea, that is something that is only going to be developed in your brain if you play a lot of tactical puzzles. The only way that is going to happen if you play a lot of puzzles. So a very nice tip, and yeah, on to the next one. So the next tip I wanted to give you is study your own games, review your own games. Of course, this is one that I already covered a little bit in the other section about how to use the engine. But in this one, I wanted to tell you specifically that I actually store all of the games that I play at my local chess club. All of the classical games that I've played are in digitally in my chess.com account. Actually, you can. I'll show how you can store analyzed games and review them after. I'll leave a little clip here where I take you through how to do that. And yeah, I mean, it's very convenient to have all the games that you've played in a single overview, which you can look at and review in a later session. So let's actually together, let's quickly review this game. This is one of the games that I won against a 1950 FIDE rated player. One of my best wins, you could say, because 1950 FIDE rated players are really strong players. They can be, I don't know, something about maybe 2000, 2100 rapid on chess.com or even higher. So yeah, this game I played with the black pieces actually. So let me reverse the board. I played my lovely Karo Khan, of course, and he played the standard way of playing it. I mean, standard. This is the fantasy variation actually with the f3 push. However, after taking, he decided to play the Reza Studier gambit. So not a very familiar gambit, but this is not. This is actually quite. Unique to face this against someone in a classical chess game, because of course in a classical chess game people don't really play gambits because you have enough time to realize what you're doing and to counter gambit it and to win and take the advantage in pride. So however, I just simply took the pawn and now it's already minus 5.4, so minus a half for black, so a little bit better, not that much, but a little bit. And here I played bishop g4, which is not the best thing, but it is okay. He played here. I decided to play e6 immediately, because if I don't, I think if you go here, there's this trick. Yeah, so you're actually already losing. This is a famous trick in the... let me just quickly review this game so you can see the nice, brilliant move here. So let's say I go here. This is a brilliant move. The reason this is a brilliant move is because this is a famous trick in the fantasy variation. I go here, you go here. I go back. He takes. I take, and you take. So yeah, okay, so there is no knight f6, so I played e6, obviously the best move. You have to prevent that trick, of course, and I just simply developed, and we got into quite an interesting game. Here I decided to play b5. My opponent decided to sacrifice. I guess he thought he had some sort of tactic here with the knight. However, I realized that there is knight d5, and after knight d5 I'm attacking this, I'm guarding this, and I'm doing quite well. And maybe my opponent realized it as well. I decided to trade off, go queen b6. He decided to keep the bishop on this diagonal, which is something that my opponent did very well in this game. He kept his bishop the entire time on this diagonal, preventing me to castle, because there's a rule in chess that if a piece is occupying the squares between castling, you are not able to do so. So yeah, my opponent did that very well. Bishop a3, of course, very annoying move, and that was something that I actually had a lot of difficulty to target to play against in this particular game. So in this position, obviously, I'm doing a lot better, and it gets even worse for my opponent, because I decided, okay, in this position, I can actually play this move. I can actually take. And after taking back, he took with the rook, which is a mistake because of knight e5, a simple fork. And it is a tactic because my pawn is pinned and I simply fork him. So a very nice game up until this point for me. Funny thing is, now that I look at it, he should have gone here, which is actually a crazy move. Because if I take here, I guess there's knight f7. Yeah, and then I have to go back, and you can just take here, I guess. And now it gets very, very dangerous, because there's all sorts of open lines, and I can't really castle. I mean, I can castle this side, but I mean, that also doesn't look very safe for my king. So very, very funny thing that I see that. So, like I mentioned, obviously, review your own games, look at them, look at the best moves, the computer lines, what he did wrong, what I did wrong. Simply try to learn from them. Yeah, so in this position, I accurately decided to trade the bishop for trade the knight for the bishop. I mean, so yeah, usually they say don't trade your bishop for a knight because usually it is not a good thing. But in this particular situation, I realized that it is a good thing. So that is very nice that I was able to see that. And after knight e5, I was doing very well. However, in the remainder of this game, as you can see, it got quite difficult for me still. And the reason was this bishop. This bishop is the sole reason why it got so difficult. And eventually he became very, very annoyed, very, very annoying by playing, by rerouting his queen the entire time, trying to go for some sort of pin, keeping his bishop on this diagonal, activating his rook. So for me, it got very, very annoying to win this game still. I'm still doing much better. However, it is not completely clear how to proceed here. I at some point played queen c5 thinking, okay, if this happens, I'm probably still doing a lot better. I can maybe go here or here. And actually, this is not a move, I thought. Oh, it is actually. Okay, so it should be fine. This is still winning for me. It is not as clear as the previous example, but it is still a move and still a winning position for me. So that's why I decided to, at some point, play queen c5, hope that maybe in the end game I can simply win. Now my opponent decided not to take the risk of taking there. And I found this maneuver here at some point where I could place my queen on f6, guarding this square, never allowing any mate, of course. And however, it still was very difficult. And at some point, he actually got near a draw, because I was here in this position. I should have found one move and one move only, and I believe the move was. Let's see, what was the move again? Yeah, the move was knight b6. So the idea of knight b6 is if he can take here because I'm still guarding, and if he goes here, for example, attacking this, and I can go here. So very complex idea, of course. And also, what was the other idea? There was another idea, I believe, here. Let's see if we can find it real quick. Let's say here. Okay, now I have to go here. What do you do? Apparently, computer says this is the best line. Okay, I'm not exactly sure. There was some line in here where I could also go queen f5, I believe, or something. I'm not exactly sure, but it doesn't really matter. It matters that here it is almost a draw still, and my opponent got very close to still at least drawing the game, and he also almost trapped my queen. So his idea was, of course, to trap my queen. So he went here at some point, queen b7 or rook b7, trying to go rook b8. And I was kind of nervous here, not gonna lie. I thought, okay, maybe I still blundered the game away. However, I found knight e8, knight e7, of course, knight e7, which is not the best move, but it is good enough. And now the point of knight e7, if he goes here, I can go here, and there's no queen trade. And now I'm actually doing quite well. If he goes back, I can step away with my queen and now or my king, and this is actually quite good position for black. So he didn't do that yet. He played bishop c7, and he thought, okay, now I have him, because if I go here, there's still this. However, there's one move here that saved me. A little bit lucky, not gonna lie. But there is queen a8, and this is the only move that works. And the point of queen e8 is his rook is actually pinned. He can't play rook b8. And the funny thing is, he played king g1 here, and here I simply played king f7. And if you take here, I take here. And if you go here, I simply move or even take in this situation. And that should be just that should be all she wrote. So that position, my opponent resigned, and he got very close to a draw still. So there was some lessons in it for me. I could learn how to improve getting into bad positions like this and trying to win. I should be cautious about not losing games that I'm very much winning up until that point. So yeah, very interesting and a very useful tip. Review your games, especially if you play at a chess club. If you play classical games, review them thoroughly, look at them very, very well, and try to learn from them. And yeah, hopefully I can see you guys in the next tip, and you've had something, you've learned something useful in this tip. So the next tip is about time management. This is a very difficult aspect of chess. So some players tend to have this better, and sometimes players tend to have this worse. It is not really something that you. It is something that you have to know and have to have as a player. Some people just play very quickly. And obviously, it is also true that the more you play chess, the more you will recognize certain patterns, certain ideas, certain things, and the more comfortable you will get with playing quickly. So that is also why I tell you not to play Blitz and Bullet in the beginning of a chess journey. You have to start with the longer formats, learn certain principles, learn certain checkmating patterns and stuff like that, and you will get more and more precise, and you will also obviously be more comfortable in playing shorter time formats. So that is a very important thing, and I'm going to include some clips where I play some games where I come into time trouble, which is a mistake that I make quite often still. So very important to realize that even good players can struggle with time management sometimes, and yeah, in general, I would really advise to play with a clock over the board to improve your time management. If you sit across somebody and if you play with a clock, you will realize you will feel the stress of being down on the clock. You will feel how to play quicker, and that you have to play quicker. So that is very important and a very nice tip that I can give you. And other than that, just try to challenge yourself in time management. Try to play games against bots with time, for example, and play quicker and quicker and quicker, and try to see if you are comfortable with it. So yeah, that is very nice to keep in mind. Time management. Don't forget about your time, because it's very important. If you lose on time, it is always very, very difficult and very painful. So yeah, see you guys in the next tip. So the last tip I wanted to share with you today is I wanted to share the tip of simplifying when you are ahead, which is obviously a very basic concept, but I don't know if everybody realizes how important this one is. Because if you are ahead and you are able to simplify as many pieces, there is a much less big chance that you are going to blunder. So the smaller the chance you're going to blunder, the higher the chance that you're going to win the game still. If there are queens on the board, even though you are a piece ahead, there is still a chance, quite a big chance as well, if you are not a super high rated player, that you are going to blunder your advantage away still. So in this game, for example, I'm going to show you this game real quick here. I got into a position, quite regular position. We got out of the opening a little bit slow, but all fine, of course. And at a certain point here, let's see, my opponent played knight f6, which is a simple blunder because I can take, and if I take, of course, my rook is protecting, so it's a free piece. So in this position, already here, it starts already here. You can take with the rook or the queen. Why do I take with the queen? I take with the queen because I want him to take me, and I want to get queens off the board. This is what I want. I want to simplify. So in this position, it is already good to take with the queen, of course. And he should have gone here because he's attacking this pawn in that way. And if I go here, for example, he can simply take with check, and this is actually a little bit better for him. However, my opponent decided to play bishop e7, which is also okay, not as good, but you know. So let's see. And in this position, the rest of the game is just me trying to simplify. So here I give a check, hoping that he takes me, so I can take back and get another piece of the board. I just want to get pieces of the board. So at this point, I decided to put my bishop here, so there's never any mate. Even though this bishop and these two rooks are looking here, I'm always protecting with my bishop, which is a very important thing. And then, furthermore, I was just trying to simplify even more. Here he decided to take, and here he decided to take again. And now this is what I want. I want to get into an endgame with the bishop still on the board and a rook, and he only has one rook. This is what I want, because now I have the time to take all these pawns, and if I do, I'm simply able to win the game. Just like I did in this game. And yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very nice example of what you're supposed to do if you are up a piece very early on the game. And I eventually found a way through. I mean, it took some time, but here I was still able to easily win with a rook and a king. It is a simple checkmate here. So this is an example game of what you want to do if you get in front. I still want to show one more game here, which is also a very nice one. In this game, I got into this position. This is one that I played quite a lot earlier. I was 1483 here, so I think it was somewhere in February or March or something. And here I found the move e5, which is the best move. And the idea of e5 is I'm attacking his knight. I'm attacking his rook, of course. So the move he should have played was this, because now I can't really. I mean, actually, this is the best move, but you know that's the whole different concept. But the idea is, of course, he's attacking my queen. I'm attacking his knight, but as soon as I move, he can simply move his knight. This is the idea, or even take here, because this is not very good. However, he didn't see the rook hanging because he simply missed it, and I was able to take rook. Now he played bishop b7, and here I knew this was gonna come, and I knew that I could play this move, and this would probably still be good enough. However, I realized there was a better move, which was simply trading the queen for the rook. And so sometimes simplifying isn't only about simplifying minor pieces, or if you are up a minor piece to simply trade everything. It could also mean that you trade a queen for 2 rooks. This is also a form of simplifying, which can be very good. And here, in this case, it is very good, because I can also take a free knight afterwards. So in this position, obviously I am completely winning here, because I have 2 minor pieces, 2 rooks, against a queen and a minor piece, which is better for me. And let's say he plays here, I can even do this. And now I have 2 minor pieces against 1 minor piece, which is still completely winning. Now I can go here, and this is just a winning endgame for me. I can take this pawn, and he's never going to get through. I can bring my king. So there are multiple ways. You have to realize that simplifying can be good for you. And let's see, in this position, I eventually found a way to win the queen, which was even better, of course. Now I'm up 2 rooks and 2 minor pieces, and a very nice finish to this game followed soon. I made it a little bit too complex for no reason, but you know. So the general note is, of course, and the tip stands: if you are up, try to get complexity off the chessboard, simplify, find a way to get to the end game, and then you can easily win the game. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I've created 10 tips and 10 sections, so always come back to this video if you want to improve on a certain aspect more. And if you had some success learning the tips in this video, especially if you learned anything that really gained your elo quickly, let it know in the comments below, of course. I would love to read them. And yeah, hopefully you guys like the video. See you guys in the next one. Bye.